Hello and good afternoon, good morning, good day, good lunchtime, whenever you're watching and listening to this. Welcome to another episode of A Coffee with Chris. As always, brought to you in association by Big C, our charity partner who help local people affected by cancer, and proudly sponsored by Hill Coaching Company, here to help you become a better version of yourself today. One last final plug for the event of the year. That's right, the year here in the fine city of Norwich. It's Reputation Matters. It's going to be on this Friday, the 13th of September. If you want no nonsense advice on how to enhance your business brand, you've got to be there. I'm going to be joined by the lovely ladies from Plain Speaking PR and the branding extraordinaire, Dan Bradfield from Naked Marketing. Now, let's get on with the conversation today. I'm so excited and just so energized and pumped to bring on the founder of Mean Right Hook, Anthony Leung, a superstar LinkedIn thought leadership video specialist. Yes, that's right. I wrote that intro myself. Anthony, welcome to A Coffee with Chris. Let's kick it off with this question. Why should people care about publishing video on their personal LinkedIn profiles?
Well, maybe the better question is, like, let's dial it back. Why should we even care about our personal accounts or personal brands at all? You know, I think that there are going to be camps of people who are like, oh, this is too much. I can't be bothered. I understand that to a certain extent. It's like, because we're busy, especially like, let's say we're small business owners and we've got so many things to juggle, right? And it's like, oh, I gotta create content. That's another thing I feel like I need to do. But the upside of creating content and having a personal brand is huge, right? Is being able to have a voice to to speak to your audience. It's kind of like coming onto your podcast, Chris, but like every day. Because we have this audience in our pocket. We have this audience that we've gathered from whenever you started your career till now. And they've all known you and they've all known your personal brand. And you can communicate with them and start connecting with new people. Bring them onto this platform and start communicating with them. If you do it right and you do it well, and you do it authentically, you can start opening up new doors. Whether it's if you're working in a company, it can open up new career paths. It can open up new career opportunities. If you are doing your own business, it can open up new businesses. It can open up new opportunities, speaking opportunities or transactional opportunities. But if you don't post, those opportunities aren't going to present themselves. You got to be out there, right? So video is, to me, the next iteration of how we communicate on the internet, right? So I've been in this game for quite some time. When I started doing social media, first of all, I had hair. Second of all, Lily Allen had just scored her contract because of MySpace, right? So that's how far back we're talking about. We're talking, social media has grown such a long way, from MySpace to Facebook to now TikTok in the kind of leading front. But also in the background is LinkedIn, who's been around for almost the entirety of this time scale. So when I'm looking at how we're evolving how we communicate on these platforms, video is just the next step. It's the next natural step of this way of communicating, right? Do you remember when Facebook was happening and we're like, oh, nudge? That's weird. It's the same thing right now with video, in the sense that those of us who aren't as comfortable with video right now, it feels a bit odd just because we're not used to it. But I promise you, it's something that will come naturally, and it's something that technology is driving it as well. So it's something that we should get to learn how to do.
Anthony, it's a hell of an update from you, my friend. I completely agree with absolutely everything you said. I'm happy to challenge it, but I really do. And I want to really hammer home the why, and I guess turn the knife really for the people that are still LinkedIn lurkers and not posting on this platform, particularly LinkedIn video. Of course, they have just brought in the new TikTok style vertical video feed. This is even more of a reason for people to capitalize on posting video, right? Because I mean, I've seen from my own research, never mind the other reports that are coming out now, that organic reach on LinkedIn with video specifically is going crazy right now. Is that something that you believe in too, you agree with, or do you disagree?
I agree, but more there's two reasons. One, you're right; they're investing in the format itself, right? And again, that's a natural progression, right? It's LinkedIn is notorious for being slow at adapting new things, right? They're the calculated. That's how they stuck around for like what 25 years, 30 years, because they've calculated and looked at the field and said, like, instead of like jumping into the new fad, they just looked at it and go, okay, this is now how people are communicating. People are now communicating when we're looking at videos, and this is thanks largely to TikTok and Reels. We're now expecting this vertical video. No longer are we looking at square videos. It looks weird now, or horizontal videos. It's these vertical videos are it's like a language of video communication, right? And so LinkedIn has looked at it and made the calculator move and said, that's, we've seen enough. We're doing this too. And I think when they put their foot down on this, it just says that this is the way we need to communicate, right? And I think that right now, they are also pushing, I guess, more of your video content into the feed, because this is, again, a thing they want to move forward with more. But more importantly than anything, it's not, don't look at it as a fad. Don't look at it as, a thing I need to do. It's, again, just the natural progression of doing it, right? And the more you're able to understand how people communicate through video, the better. It's not like an age thing, right? Dude, I'm 45 this year. And I'm doing these I started with TikTok videos, I'm doing LinkedIn videos, and and not only is it fun, but to understand the language of how we communicate here is for every age.
Anthony, I love the fact you brought up age, and let's go there, my friend. I actually released a post on my personal LinkedIn account about this morning, actually. There are so many excuses being spouted, being shared. It's almost become acceptable for some people, and I have empathy for the people that share those excuses as to why they are not doing LinkedIn video. One of them is age. The next thing, which I'm sure you're going to have a take on, and I get this often, is, oh no, Chris, I don't have the technology. I don't have the lighting. I don't have the camera. This is nonsense, right?
Right. So can I just show you something real quick?
Yes,
this is my lighting right here. This little box. Really? That's my lighting. That's my lighting. And my equipment, my tech is right here. That's it. Right. Well, no, I'll add two more things. A 20-pound microphone from Amazon, and a 15-pound tripod off of Amazon. Right. That microphone's already too good. The ones I got are the little mics that like go onto your shirt. I like holding on to it, but the technology has become so easily accessible and so cheap that it's no longer an excuse. Back in the day, I got to drag you all the way back into the 90s when I was trying to be a rock musician and we were doing demos. We had to hook up so many wires, right, to the guitar. Then I had to bring a mic to my brother's drum set, and then we hooked it all to my dad's karaoke machine. Then we put it onto a tape deck. Everything is here, right? I think that those who think who are trying to say technology excuse is just maybe haven't tried it yet, because it's all in your phone. I kid you not.
Yeah, no, I'm so with you, Anthony. And the thing that I would just really, really hammer home there is when it comes to your lighting, when it comes to your sound, your audio, I often say this to people that haven't started yet. People don't really care about that, if at all, unless it's so bad that it's noticeable. It's so unlikely though, right? If you're in a space like this, if you're in an office, if you are able to find a quiet space with some natural light, just start shooting. I do think people overthink that, as you've already said. Anthony, I know that just a quick tangent. I want to talk about this subject with you. I know that as well as LinkedIn thought leadership videos, the one thing that you are so good at as well is the video side of things for business events, specifically, I think this is an area that businesses are struggling with, right? So they know how to do everything else regarding events, maybe putting them on, making sure it's successful, selling tickets, setting up the Eventbrite page, some of the social stuff, but they suck at event video. So how do you make people go, let's go, when it comes to their event video? How do you get people to commit to going to an event through that medium of video? What's the secret?
I think the secret, and this is why I've kind of put my business into helping people make event videos or videos from events, right? Is that I've got a bit of a gripe with a lot of videos I see, right? A lot of and you know what I'm talking about. Everyone who's watching knows I'm talking. If you've been on LinkedIn for 30 seconds, you've seen these videos where there's like these big great events. And it's videos from this event, and it's like slow motion flags and slow motion people thinking and slow motion people interacting. And it's like, what is the story here? Why do I care? The number one thing that we need to think about for social media videos and LinkedIn videos is, why should someone else care and why should someone else watch this, right? If the narrative isn't there, if the story isn't there, the strength of this pretty video isn't going to carry out what you're trying to say, right? Prettiness takes a back seat to narrative in social media videos and on LinkedIn videos. And so the work I do is more front end. So it's like, why are we trying to tell this story? What story is there to tell? Who should tell the story that carries this narrative, right? And it's more important to think about that, and maybe scripting, and maybe understanding, like when I work with clients at the event, because I understand their goals and what they're trying to achieve for the evening, I then can interview them and have the right questions, like you're doing with me right now, so that I can get the right content from them. As long as I got the right content on camera and is recorded, I now have puzzle pieces in editing to edit something that's fit for purpose, right? So I think that's the that's the one thing, the number one thing that I would like to just help with the event space is, let's start creating content that's meaningful, and also in the language of how we share content now on LinkedIn.
With you. And so just for clarity, so the audience can really understand, Anthony, I think what I've heard you say there is, we need to speed up video. We need to maybe unpolish video. We need to make it probably less corporate, more relatable. And at the same time, we need to put more work in at the start of the process rather than at the back end, right? And I feel for you video guys that are really have got a hell of a job. If you don't do that pre-work on the narrative, the story, the questions, who's doing what, like the post-production is going to be so difficult to try to reach that end goal and get there. So I really, really am a massive believer in that, Anthony, as well. And relating to the speed of the video, I want to put this to you, and that is something that I know that you preach about on your LinkedIn all the time. It's bringing the TikTok energy. And I think I can probably feel already business pros out there kind of like getting the ick when they hear that, bringing the TikTok energy. Like, I think they think they're going to be like dancing or something, right? But what do you mean by that? What's bringing the TikTok energy to video, and why is that important?
Again, if you pay attention to what's been happening in the last 5 years or so in with video, TikTok has changed the how we communicate on video. That's what we mean by TikTok energy, right? I don't mean like you got to dance. Even if you want to, that's fine. No one's going to stop you, right? Some people play their guitar. That's great. I'm so rusty, I'm not going to do it. But what I mean by TikTok energy is, one, there's a pacing to it that is unique to social videos, right? How we're communicating right now isn't actually going to sit well on a social media video, not on LinkedIn video, because all this like space in between of what I'm saying right now can't get cut. And we got to keep in mind that, like, when we're on a podcast like this, people are ready to engage with us for the full podcast, right? They sat there and said, right, coffee with Chris, I'm ready, let's go. And we've got like I've blocked an hour, we're gonna do this. Versus on LinkedIn, this is a piece of content that I didn't ask for. And and I've got like what's the stat? It's like an average user spends about 7.5 minutes on LinkedIn on all the content, not just on one piece of the content. So when we're scrolling through a post, a carousel, a video, this is all in competition with each other. That video better well tell you exactly why you need to spend that time with them, quickly and in a way that captures your attention, or else I'm going to scroll, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's a major difference in terms of the pacing. Why that pacing is important, right? Because we need to land what usually is a 5-minute thought in 30 seconds, right?
Yes.
Can you do that? 100%. You guys, we do it all the time. It's called an elevator pitch, right? The difference is that it's not like a thing that you always carry with you all the time, but it's having that skill set to understand where the best pieces of the puzzle is every time you have a thought, and they're piecing it together really quickly. I think that's important. And I think the other important thing is this talking to camera like this is part of that TikTok energy, right?
Mm.
When there are certain people that can carry a conversation like, that traditional, like head thing, like you're talking like this. This is weird, right? Like, this is really weird. But we love it when we're talking directly to camera. It feels like the person is talking to you. It adds to the authenticity, which is the key here, right? To how you're delivering your content. If you do a side profile, to me, what it says to the user is, we didn't care enough to create something for you. Right? I'm not actually talking to you. I'm talking to this guy right now. But if I'm talking to you, I should be talking to you.
Yeah.
And that's part of that TikTok energy.
I love Anthony, and I'm so with you, and it's something that I haven't yet been able to, I guess, communicate as effectively as you just have. Actually, I think you can bring that TikTok energy with regards to the editing. Like, you can cut things up and make things faster, and what you think is fast, it should be a lot faster than what you think is fast, right? I think if in doubt, make it faster is probably something that people should think about. And I think the other thing, Anthony, as well is, and I'm not sure if you prescribe to this or not, but I'm a big believer, full stop, in just bringing the energy, the actual energy to your video, how you speak, how you dictate, how you use your body language. Like, bring the energy to the video. And I just see so many corporate videos. Again, like you said, let's use that side profile. Hello, my name is Derek, and I work for a financial company. And like people aren't even going to watch that. So that's what I mean by TikTok energy. I really like your description of TikTok energy as well, and I think it's something that people should factor in. And a word that you've touched upon there, which I'm so pleased you brought up, and I think there's already some stigma around this, Anthony, and that is the word authenticity, or being authentic on video. And people just say it, and I think a lot of marketers are quite guilty of just kind of throwing that in as good, tangible advice. Be more authentic. Anthony, what are your steps? What's your advice for people to start out with their LinkedIn video to be more authentic, and just kind of give us your take on authenticity on video?
Well, authenticity, to your point, I think some marketers look at it as a checkbox exercise, right? It's like, more spend, cool, more better targeting, tick, and then more authenticity, tick. It's like, no, you can't just, it's not something you can tick off the box, right? It's something that you need to be able to first understand who you are and be able to be comfortable with that, so that you can do this in front of the camera, right? I think that the number one thing that kills authenticity on LinkedIn videos is confidence. Because a lot of us aren't used to doing this right now, right? It's either talking to camera or editing for social media, or or setting up lighting or whatever it is, right? But there's so much bogging down our minds right now that our confidence gets knocked, right? It's the same as talking on stage for the first time, public speaking. That kind of learning curve, I identify, it's almost the same, right? where when you're going to speak for the first time, you're like, oh, how do I look? How do I stand? Why is my arm so weird? Right? I've had speaking engagements where I thought I had a frozen leg, and my leg was like, I had this really weird pose. But anyways, it's the same for videos, right? And I think that get used, just start recording yourself, right? Like get used to your own sound, how you come across on camera, right? Because this face and this sound, this voice is what you got, right? So get used to it, right? It's weird the first time, but I promise you, when you get comfortable with it, it's your greatest asset, right? The other is, for confidence is when we first do videos, I think we think we've got this like 5-paragraph script that we gotta have to nail every single point, and it's because we have so much expertise and we just really want everybody to know about it. But at the same time, you got 5 paragraphs. There's no way you're gonna remember that, and so you're killing yourself trying to remember this thing and delivering it in one take. No one does that. Right, that's the secret with Hollywood movies. Did you know that they have different takes and they have editors? It's the same for our LinkedIn videos, right? It's like break that down into small chunks so you could just remember a little bit at a time, deliver it, and then editing will take care of the rest. That way, it's going to free you up from trying to remember everything, right? If you wrote in the script, you already know where you're going. That's cool. Right, so you're not worrying about like, oh, did I nail every single point that I need to nail, and just deliver with confidence and how you talk to a friend, right? Not I think that a lot of us think LinkedIn is a place where you got to show up with a suit and the tie's got to go all the way up so you can't breathe. That's not the truth at all, right? It's people are craving authenticity. And what that means ultimately is like, are you presenting yourself as who you are in real life, right? That's what authenticity is to me, right?
I think you've shared so many good points there, Anthony. We actually had James Groves on from 𝗖𝗵𝗿𝗶𝗀 actually a few weeks back, and we spoke about authenticity just in LinkedIn content in general actually. And one of the problems that he has noticed has started to come up for people is there's actually a big discrepancy between what they post online and who they are as a person, right? And so it's more important than ever before to be more you. And I know that sounds quite starter pack, but I think people just need to accept who they are and start talking as who they are. And if you make mistakes within your video content, it's cool. Like, it happens. Like, what was I doing at the start of this content? I rambled on about something and it didn't really come across that well, but I just that's me, right? And I think it's so important for people to think about that, because it conveys more trust. And with more trust, we speed up the process between prospect and customer. There you go, mistake, which is how we do more business. And Anthony, one of the reasons why I was just so excited to get you on was to actually ask for you to provide a bit of inside info, if that's all right, my man. And that is with regards to your time with 𝗖𝗵𝗿𝗶𝘀 and also Pret. And I believe you did the social and video for those guys. And also you did a video that got 1 million views. So I'd love to learn a little bit more about your key learnings from both of those organizations and how you were successful there.
I can't actually sign an NDA to, no, I'm kidding. Yeah, so those 2 brands in particular were the best times of my career, so to speak. There's better years to come as we do more LinkedIn video, but those are really incredibly formative years for me. Those 2 brands are so different from each other, and yet we found success in different ways, right? At Just Eat, when they were just doing Don't Cook, Just Eat, and they were leaning heavily on humor. And on social media, the job was to take that tone of voice and apply it, right? And it's like, now we have the ability to have fun with people on social media and have this kind of mischievous tone. And it was really helpful that the whole brand was in it. If it was just social media, I think it'd be weird. If it was just TV, it would be weird. But because the whole brand was in it, it really worked. So you stay true to that, regardless of customer service, right? Regardless of if it's a pay-per-click ad, right? There's always some mischievous in there, right? So there's that being true to that character. Fast forward over to Pret, and it was a completely different thing. Whereas at Just Eat, it was about taking that tone of voice and applying it to real life situations like for World Cup, Olympics, Eurovision. That was a great time. We were live tweeting Eurovision. It was great. Pret wanted none of that. Their thing was, right, we need to understand our story, and we're going to understand how to tell that well. And you can be witty about it. You could do, tell it well, but it needs to be our story. Whatever happens outside of that is secondary to why we chose our ingredients, the people that work for us, the reason why we have a charity arm. All those things are stories. And I thought, wow. First of all, that took me some time to understand that, because I was like, I was doing all this stuff and Just Eat, you guys didn't want this? Why did you hire me? It was weird. But then I understood it and I was like, wow, that's actually really powerful to be able to have your story and just tell it well, and then connect with your audience in a completely different way, because they were able to launch Veggie Pret because of that. They had a conversation with their vegetarian, vegan customers, and they launched a pop-up. And during that time, social media played a big part in getting feedback from the audience. And that feedback went back into the kitchen, and then that kitchen made something in a month. So imagine tweeting something to this brand and then you can eat it in a month. That was the relationship we we're having, right? Wow. So I think that when you're talking about authenticity, that's what it meant for these two brands, right? It was be mischievous. Just Eat was be mischievous when you can. Obviously, you dial it up and down for the situation, right? If your takeaway is not coming, you're not going to be mischievous all that much. And in the case of Pret, it was understanding that tone and that the ethos so fully that you can express it in a way that's beautiful. So I think that if you think about our own authenticity, I think that's what it means, right? If you're insightful, to go be that, right? Don't be afraid to share your thoughts, regardless if you're what position you are or what part of the career you are, because I know for a fact there are CEOs and CMOs and C whatever O's out there that are afraid to share because they don't think they have something to share. That's crazy. That's crazy. Right? So if you don't force yourself to be funny if you're not, but also allow yourself to be funny if you are, if that's important to you, right? And then the other is to just be confident in your own expertise and your story, and don't let the outside things rock you too much, right? At Just Eat, it was like I tweeted at like International Pirate Day. Pret did not care. They did not care at all. And there's that confidence in your own story that is powerful, right? If you have a certain value, if you know you're giving a certain value to your customers and just the community in general, right? Stick to that, right? And know it well, how to tell it well, so it's relatable, right? So those are two things. And then you were talking about a video that got 1 million views. That was different brand. It was for it was for a company called Memrise. It was a language learning app, and that was fascinating because we were we were all in on TikTok. This was like just before the pandemic, and TikTok was kicking in, and we wrote skits based on what we were seeing on TikTok. It was like, 5 ways to say this in English, 5 ways to express whatever, right? Did okay, like 2,000 views or something like that. But then one time we just went, gave ourselves permission to go, let's just do something that was in tune with the language of the videos we're seeing on TikTok, right? And we went all in, and the video started with US English versus UK English, and it was me and this other guy. I had to play an American. I'm Canadian, so that I'm sure my friends were having a blast seeing that. But it was like this confrontational energy that was entertaining. We were standing in front of a wall that was graffitied, and there was like this something is happening. I need to know what's happening, right? That was the video that got 1 million views, right? What we were trying to do was the exact same thing, right? Between how to express these things in English. But the way that was delivered, the energy that was there, it was a spectacle. You need to see it.
Anthony, be honest with me. Did you design that video with virality reach in mind? Was that by design? And if it was by design, what were maybe the key elements, the sort of top line key elements that people could also maybe implement within their own TikTok videos? What would you recommend on that front?
I wouldn't say it was by design because we weren't hitting those anyways, right? I was just like, I think this is a better content. I think this is a better piece of content, right? Did I in a million years think we get a million views? No, but that's what happened, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the mentality we need to have when we're creating content, right? If there are going to be pieces we're going to spend 5-6 hours on, and it's just you and your parents that have seen it, right? There are going to be content that you do in 30 seconds that gets 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 impressions, right? But again, the important thing is to stick to your story, stick to your expertise, understand it well, so that it doesn't matter, right? You're just expressing it. Whatever catches, pay attention to that. Pay attention to how you told that story. Pay attention to the subject of that story, and then pay attention to comments, how you can continue that conversation. But at the same time, don't ever go with the intention of this is going to go viral, right? Every piece of content, because I just had a video that is reaching 7,000 impressions, and the next post is reaching under 1,000. That's fine. That's cool. The 7,000 is reaching parents, and I was talking about sending our kids back to school, right? The 1,000 is reaching my audience, and I know that they're engaging with it because there's still engagement, right? So that's cool.
I really, really appreciate your vulnerability on that, Anthony. I think people think that you and of course there's things that you can do to give it the best chance of going viral, the best chance of reaching and having reach in mind. But at the same time, people need to goddamn realize that sometimes, because there are hundreds of, probably thousands of variables involved with social media, with video content, when it's posted, why it's posted, who it's posted to, which platform it's posted on, what the content's about, is it on trend, is it not, etc. That sometimes there's no luck involved, and actually just staying the course and being consistent and being frequent, then a video bangs. And actually sometimes it's not within your control. So I think that's refreshing to hear from someone with your skill set and experience, Anthony. I want to conclude on today's video by asking you, Anthony, for your quick fire hell no's when it comes to LinkedIn video. This is an opportunity for you to have a bit of a rant, my friend. What are you seeing on the LinkedIn feed and you're like, hell no, what on earth is that person doing?
Oh my gosh, I think this is where you're gonna get me canceled, buddy.
Canceled too.
I don't know how many wrestling friends are there, but every time you see hell no, I think Stone Cold Steve Austin. But yeah, my hell no is my first thing. The first, I think I've dropped a few, right? The first is like, stop pressuring yourself to remember the whole script and just break it down, right? Use editing, use Descript, use whatever is available. It doesn't have to be a paid for thing. There are things, iMovie, you can do it with that, right? But understand that the more you're able to break it down and the less pressure you give yourself. That's how I work with my clients. It's like, that's my job, is to take all that pressure, right? If I'm shooting with them, I'm helping them, I'm telling their lines, so they don't have to remember anything. They just show up, right? But if you're doing it by yourself, cut it into small lines, right? That's the first thing I'm gonna do, is just stop trying to give this OPED. Like, it's not a speech. Just break it down so it's short for you to remember, right? The other thing I would say that I have a bit of a gripe with in terms of video is it's just overproduction, I think, is a thing, right? Where and maybe that connects back with what you were saying first, was people using equipment as an excuse, using technology as an excuse, is because in their heads it's a Hollywood movie, but in actuality it's closer to a home movie, right? And it's going to do two things, right? One, when you realize that that's the case, then you're going to start doing it because the expectations in your mind starts coming in line with reality. And the other is you're probably going to see engagement more engagement on your content because it's real, right? It's not perfectly lit. It's not it got done with an expensive camera. And yeah, then from there, just continue to learn how to tell stories on video. I spent like what 13 years like learning this, right? So you're not going to get it the first time. And the first time is always going to be like a little bit, right? But hit that send button. It's fine. There's so many people in this position right now. There's so you know what? There's a lot of people in that position that's going to feel a bit ick in their first video, but there's even more people in the position where they're never going to do anything. And you're going to have one step ahead of these people by starting this, right? And so if you do that, just think about where you're going to be heading, right? If you want help to get you faster, I can help you do that, but get out there.
A rallying cry to conclude this conversation. Anthony, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me, buddy. Anytime.
And thank you so much to everyone watching live, watching back, or listening back, wherever you are, whichever platform. I'm so grateful for your time and attention. If you've got any recommendations or guests or suggestions of how I can make this content better for you, then let me know in the comments section. As always, a huge thank you to Big C, who help local people affected by cancer, and our sponsors, Hill Coaching Company, who are here to help you become a better version of yourself today. Do not forget, the event of the year in Norwich is coming up this Friday. Reputation matters. If you want some no-nonsense advice on how to enhance your business brand, please come along to that. It's going to be a game changer for you and your business. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode, and I'll see you this time next week for another episode of